This episode is a companion to my LinkedIn article, Your Roadmap is a Hypothesis, Not a Prophecy. You can find the link to the article in the episode description. Let's start with an uncomfortable idea. Your roadmap is not a promise about the future. It is a hypothesis about what might happen next. Most organizations do not treat it that way. We sit in a room, open a document, and describe the future in impressive detail. We define goals, priorities, initiatives, milestones, owners, dependencies, risks, and mitigation plans. Then we create several tables containing the same information because apparently reality becomes more predictable when it is distributed across enough spreadsheets. And for a moment, it feels good. It feels like control. We will do A, which will produce B, which will lead to C. The logic looks clean, the dates line up. Every box has an owner. The future appears to be under management. Then the future begins. A competitor launches something we did not expect. A stakeholder changes their mind. A critical employee leaves. A regulation appears. Customers begin using the product in a way nobody predicted. Or a technology that was supposed to become important in 3 years becomes impossible to ignore within 6 months. This is why the topic matters so much now. Product teams are working in markets that move faster than their planning cycles. Leaders are making decisions while technology, regulation, customer expectations, and organizational structures are all changing at once. And AI is accelerating this further. A capability that looked experimental at the beginning of the year may become a basic customer expectation before the annual roadmap reaches its second review. The problem is not that planning has become useless. The problem is that many organizations are using planning to create the illusion that uncertainty has disappeared. I have been thinking about this through the work of Ilya Prigogine, a chemist and physicist who studied complex systems. He showed that systems far from equilibrium do not behave like simple machines. They can be unstable, they can adapt, and at certain moments, a very small change can send the whole system in a different direction. Of course, a company is not a chemical reaction. A product team is not a collection of molecules, although some planning meetings may suggest otherwise. But the comparison is still useful. In a simple system, the relationship between action and result is relatively predictable. You press a button and the machine performs a known operation. In a complex system, the system reacts to what you do. Customers respond, competitors respond, teams learn. Incentives create unexpected behavior. The action itself changes the environment in which the next action will happen. That means the past does not mechanically produce the future. The system answers back. Many organizations still set goals as if the environment were stable and obedient. They assume the market will politely wait while the annual strategy is executed. They assume customer behavior observed last year will remain relevant this year. They assume competitors will follow approximately the same logic that appears in the competitive analysis. Reality is rarely that cooperative. Here is the uncomfortable part. Goals do not give us control over most of these things. They give us direction. That is useful, but it is not the same thing. A good goal helps people decide. It tells a team what matters and what can be deprioritized. It creates a shared language for trade-offs. It describes the change we are trying to produce. A bad goal pretends to be a contract with the future, and the future, as usual, did not attend the signing ceremony. This distinction is especially important in product management. A roadmap is often treated as a delivery commitment. Feature A will be completed in March. Feature B will follow in May. Feature C will produce the business result in the third quarter. But a serious roadmap should be closer to a structured hypothesis. We believe this customer problem is important. We believe this solution may address it. We believe this sequence is reasonable. We believe these investments may produce the desired outcome. And all of this is based on what we know now. Those last words matter. Based on what we know now does not mean we are weak, indecisive, or unwilling to commit. It means we understand that decisions are made with incomplete information. The commitment should be to the goal and to the quality of the learning, not to pretending that every assumption will remain true. This is where things get tricky. When uncertainty increases, many organizations react by demanding more precision from the plan. They add milestones, they create more reporting, they introduce additional approval stages, they schedule more status meetings to discuss why the world has failed to follow the roadmap. That is not control. It is administrative weather control. The better question is not, how do we remove uncertainty? We cannot remove it. The better question is, what can we influence? What assumptions are we making? And what signals would tell us that those assumptions are wrong? That requires a different kind of discipline, less performance of certainty and more honest observation, less focus on whether the team delivered exactly what was written 6 months ago, and more focus on whether the team is producing the intended effect. It also requires leaders to stop punishing teams for changing course when the evidence changes. There is a major difference between abandoning a goal and updating a hypothesis. But many organizations treat both as failure. A team may discover that the proposed feature does not solve the customer's real problem. Another team may learn that the problem exists, but only for a much smaller group than expected. A third team may find a simpler solution that produces the same result without 6 months of engineering. In a healthy organization, these are valuable discoveries. In an unhealthy one, they are described as delivery risk because they disrupt the roadmap. Let me give a simple example. Imagine a product team planning a large AI assistant for customer support. The roadmap includes model integration, a new interface, a knowledge system, analytics, and a 6-month implementation program. Then the team runs a small experiment. They discover that customers do not actually want a conversational assistant. Most of them simply want faster access to 3 pieces of information that are currently hidden in the product. At this point, the original roadmap is technically still executable. The company can continue, the milestones can remain green, the team can deliver everything that was promised, but it would be the wrong thing to do. The mature decision is to keep the goal, reducing customer effort, but change the solution. The immature decision is to preserve the roadmap because too many people have already presented it. This example also answers a common counter-argument. Some people hear the word adaptation and assume it means that teams can change direction whenever they become bored, encounter resistance, or miss a deadline. That is not adaptation, that is avoidance. An adaptive approach still requires commitment. It requires clear goals, explicit assumptions, evidence, and decision rules. A team should not change direction because someone had a new idea during lunch. It should change direction because new information materially changes the original case. Flexibility without discipline becomes chaos, but discipline without flexibility becomes bureaucracy. The challenge is to hold both at the same time. There is another part of this that I think leaders often underestimate. Many of the best outcomes in organizations begin outside the official plan. A small experiment, a conversation after the meeting, a customer request that initially looked marginal, a new employee who asks a question everyone else stopped asking years ago, a technical constraint that forces the team to find a better design. These moments may look like luck, but they are not only luck. Chance opens the door, preparedness notices it. Competence knows what to do next. A rigid organization often misses these moments because everyone is busy protecting the plan. An adaptive organization can recognize that the system is offering new information. So what would I watch next? I would look at how organizations change their planning rituals in response to AI and faster technology cycles. Not what they say about agility, but what they actually reward. Do they reward teams for validating assumptions early, or only for completing planned scope? Can a team stop an initiative when the evidence becomes weak? Can leaders admit that an original strategic assumption was wrong without turning the discussion into a search for someone to blame? I would also watch whether roadmaps begin to include more than dates and deliverables. A useful roadmap should make assumptions visible. It should explain what signals the team is watching, what would cause the plan to change, and which decisions are reversible. Because the purpose of a roadmap is not to prove that we know the future. The purpose is to coordinate action while we learn what the future is becoming. We should not abandon goals. We should become more honest about what goals can and cannot do. Some goals provide direction. Some are bets. some are learning tools. Some remain useful only until reality gives us a better answer. The mature approach is not to say, here is the plan and reality must follow. It is to say, here is our direction. Here is what we currently believe. Here is what we can influence. Here is what we need to watch. And here is how we will recognize that the system is telling us to change. It is less comforting than a beautiful annual plan, but it has one important advantage. It is much closer to how reality actually works. The full version of this argument is available in my LinkedIn article. You can find the link in the episode description. I would also be interested in your experience. When has changing the roadmap been a sign of good management, and when has it simply been a way to avoid commitment? Join the discussion on LinkedIn.